Okay, question. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask if you could remove anything from your life, knowing that no one would be upset with you, no one would feel frustrated with you, no one would feel unloved by you? If anything, they would totally have your back. They would understand where you're coming from and totally support your decision to remove the thing, whether that is that you need to stop texting someone back as soon as you see their text. You need to just like say, you know what, I'll get back to that later. Or maybe you need to go to a few less family get-togethers because the family just gets together all the time and it's a little bit too much for you. Or maybe it's you saying no to stuffing your schedule so jam-packed. Or maybe you just got to say no to anything before 10 a.m. just so that you have a little bit of downtime. Whatever it is, the thing is that it's not just that we need awareness of these things. It's that we're looking for permission because we're so afraid that if we say no in any shape or form, someone is going to feel hurt. Someone else is going to feel they're going to be uncomfortable or they're going to feel unloved. And making anyone else feel uncomfortable for some of us is the last thing that we want to do. We don't know how to do that. And so we keep on saying yes to these little and big things that make us feel depleted and frustrated and stuck and eventually resentful. And like we just start to shut down and we don't know how to do this people thing. We don't know how to do the church thing. We don't know how to do this family thing because it's all too much. When all you need to do is learn to tweak your life. Okay, so if this is beginning to resonate with you, then grab the Burnout Diagnostic in the description below. It's 12 simple questions. And if you answer yes to 4 or more of them, then you know you have a problem. So you can, I think I said that, but you can grab that in the description below. Okay, so years ago, when we weren't building our house. We found our house, had to buy a property and then move our house here and then do a whole bunch of like the legal stuff and get the power and the water and all that hooked up. But along that process, I realized that I realized a pet peeve of mine, and that is when people say things like, it's just how it works. That's just life. That's just family. That's just church. That's just so-and-so. It's just how they work. That's just like, the process just takes longer than you expect. That's just part of being a daughter. It's just part of being a mom or part of being parents. People would say these blanket statements with no definition. And to this day, it drives me nuts. I'm like, can you please tell me why you're saying that? Like, what's your reasoning behind it? So what would happen is when we would, through the whole process with this house and moving it, we would talk to people, right? It's a big part of your life. It naturally comes up in conversations. And one of the things that I picked up on the most was that people would say anything to do with houses or building or moving always takes longer than you expect. And it always costs more than you expect. But I think the main one was it always takes longer than you expect. And I was like, because I was the one making the phone calls and mapping out the timeline and kind of figuring out the logistics, I was like, okay, can someone please just tell me why? And I think at that point in time, I didn't know how to ask other people. I just felt really frustrated after every conversation with people because they would always just say it always just takes longer. And I'm like, can someone say why? Like, why? Can you give a reason? Like, tell me what was your experience and what took longer for you, and so that I don't make that same mistake. Like, if you're going to give me this advice, actually tell me what happened for you or what happened for your friend, and how do I not go through that? And rather than just saying it always just takes longer, and because it's like, what takes longer? So our experience was not that it took longer. I think because I was so annoyed, I probably made the phone calls, like all the phone calls that I needed to. I doubled down on making sure that we had everything in line that we needed. And it's not that everything went easy, but stuff happened at the right time. And so, but just that whole process or hearing what people were saying. And then it was like, I think it made me very aware of how much we say these blanket statements in life. And then again, with parenting, you become parents. Some people say, oh, it's like the hardest thing ever. And I'm like, can you say why? Because someone might say it was the hardest thing ever because their kids didn't sleep well and they were tired all the time. And so it's like, okay, if at least I know why it was hard for you, then I can, maybe if we have the same experience, then we can tweak what we're doing so that we can work with the tiredness or the sleepless nights. It's the giving the statement without the lack, or with the lack of definition, that just drives me up a wall. But one thing I've learned in my very long yet very short life is that life is malleable. Your schedule, malleable. Your time, malleable. Everything in life is malleable. It's changeable. You can tweak it. Your finances, no matter how stuck you feel, malleable. The problem is, do we know it's malleable? Do we believe it is? Or do we believe it's stuck? And blanket statements like, it's just life, it's just parenting, it's just church, it's just family. Those are statements that make that tell our mind that this is set, it's stuck, you cannot change it. And then trying to change it creates a lot of fear and panic in us. And we kind of freak out because we're like, no, you can't change it. This is how it is. And everything's going to fall apart if I try. So again, that comes with, there's a whole lot of thoughts behind the scenes for us. And if you're or if you tend to freak out when you even begin to think about changing anything in life, then grab the burnout diagnostic in the description below. And it's just going to start with 12 questions and help you know where to go from there. Okay, so back to what I was going to say with what I've learned is the whole malleable thing, that life is malleable. I'm going to start saying that really weird. So let's say that you are someone who hates cooking, but you're like, your whole life, and maybe your mom and your grandma, everyone just said, you might hate it, but you got to cook for your husband and your kids. And so whether you hate it or not, it is what it is. That's just life. And so that's what you've heard. That's what you've said. That's what you've believed for a really long time. But once you start to learn that life is malleable, you can say, I hate cooking and I want to make good meals for my husband and kids. And I want them to be healthy, and I want them to take as little time as possible. So now you're not just saying, I hate cooking, but I'm stuck with it. You're adding these 3 extra things. And now you're looking at all those and saying, okay, how can I make all of these work together? Then you start to look at life from different angles. Just going through that and saying, how can I accept the fact that I hate cooking, but I also want to make really good meals that don't leave me depleted for the rest of the evening, and that my family loves to eat. You can put all of those pieces on the table and start to come up with choices and options and decide how you want to go about like actually doing this daily task or chore in a way that you might actually grow to enjoy and love, because you're no longer being depleted by it. And that is the simple difference from, when you stop making those blanket statements and you start saying, this is true, and this is true, and this is true. How can I work with all of these? Then you make a small tweak. The first step, just make a small tweak, a small change. And then when you start to do that, all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, maybe this is changeable. Maybe I don't have to be depleted. Maybe I don't have to be exhausted after every meal. Maybe I don't have to hate cooking, because I can actually do it in a way that honors the fact that, I love making a 1-hour meal, and anything over an hour, I'm my feet are sore and I'm just done. So I'm only going to make delicious, nutritious 1-hour meals. You can make that change, even though your mom or grandma maybe love to make 3-hour meals. Life is malleable is the point. Anything in life is malleable. You can change it. If you don't like it, you can change it. And so, this is really just coming against saying, it's just life. It's just church. It's just family. It's just part of being a Christian. It's just part of being a daughter or a sister or a mother or any of those blanket statements. Stop saying that. If something is bothering you, if something is sitting weird, if something irritates you, then tweak it. And okay, big thing that I just want to say here is that sometimes we feel like, well, so-and-so has to change, or they have to give us permission. Even if someone else in your life knew how, or the perfect words to say to you, and they got where you're coming from and they gave you permission, because this is so inside of us, you have to give yourself the permission to make the change. And part of it is, saying, I'm going to learn, because, okay, I guess another big thing is that we tend to keep on doing certain habits, making certain choices, texting people back as soon as they text us because we're like, well, if I don't do that, they're going to feel unloved, and I just have to send a quick text back to them. And we do that day in and day out, and it bugs us, but we can't change it because then they would feel unloved because we've already set this precedence and they know that we're going to text them immediately. And so we can't do anything other than that. A simple change like that makes us feel like we're not loving people. And we've got to start separating our action from the love that we have for other people. It's saying, I absolutely love them. I care about them. I'm committed to them, whatever words you need to say in there. But I'm no longer going to do it in this dysfunctional way that is draining me and leaving me eventually resentful at that person. And so I think it's just bringing this back into the space where we are no longer just on this, like where we've pressed that cruise control button and now we're just like, it just is what it is and it just is life. We're saying, no, I'm not, like, this is bugging me. I'm going to start tweaking it. And instead of showing someone that I love them by texting them back right away, I'm going to show them that I love them in a way that actually brings me life too and brings me joy. And that actually shows them that I love them. So, okay, I'm just going to check my notes, but if this is you, if you are like, if you're super aware of other people, if you are burnt out by other people, if you're burnt out just by life, then grab that burnout diagnostic in the description below, and then I'll help you with the next steps from there. If you answer yes versus no to more than 4 questions out of 12, then you know you have a problem and you need to start doing something about it. Okay, so let's wrap this up with, I'm not going to ask you to change anything that you're doing. First, back to the beginning of the video when I asked if you could change anything, knowing that people would not only not think less of you, they would actually totally understand and have your back. What would you change? And so if you could define that, like just name what is that thing that you would love to remove or decrease from your life. And because the thought of actually removing that from our life, it's like, hey, if we didn't have to like fight to give a good reason why this just exhausts us, right? Then it's like that thing kind of naturally comes to the surface. But then when you're aware of that, the thought of moving into action and actually removing that from your life will usually bring up someone's voice. Maybe it's a group of people, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's a preacher that you heard a long time ago, where it's like just the thought of, you just kind of know you're not supposed to do that thing. And what's really tough, especially for Christians, is that we tend to have these voices of guilt, and then we think that that's God's voice. And so becoming aware is just the first step. So it's like, what would I love to change? And then if I change that, or even if you don't start taking action towards that, just the thought of taking action will often bring up a feeling of guilt. Your heart might start to feel like constrained. You might feel like rocks in your stomach. You might feel like you are panicking and want to run away. You're going to feel like, oh my goodness, so-and-so they'd be so angry at me. They'd feel so unloved. They would just quit on me. You might feel like the world is going to fall apart. Okay. It's not that it is. It's like, this is a simple tweak we're looking to make. It's a simple change that would actually bring life to you and probably most likely to the people around you too. But it's like, why in the world is there so much riding on these little choices that we make, the habits that we have? Why is it that we feel so unstuck? So we just want to begin to become aware of what is that we would love to change. And then when we go to change it, what or whose voice is coming up? What's that story coming into your mind? What are the voices? What's the fear of, like, what bad thing is going to happen? Even if it's not real, but there's a fear of like something bad's going to happen if I do this. I'm not supposed to do this. If I do this, I'm being selfish. I'm not, rather than being selfless. And so it's one of those things that we want to, when it comes up, we're going to bring that into the conversation with God and start to deal with that with Him. Because these things, that the guilt that we live with, the condemnation that we live with, so often on the surface level can sound Christian. It can sound like we're loving or we're being giving or we just care about other people. But it's like that's on the surface. That's the cover story. But the true story underneath is that we are being driven by guilt and by fear and by condemnation. And that is not from God. That is not what Jesus has for you. And so my desire and my hope for you is that you would learn to be authentic, that you would learn to be you, and that you would be who God made you to be, but in a way where you could actually show love, like real love and real care for the people around you without depleting yourself. You don't have to, like, in order to be a loving person, you do not have to be an exhausted person. And being exhausted, we have to stop making that mean that we're being loving. You can love people from a full cup. Jesus did. So like that's what he has for us too. Okay. I at this point I'm like, I could keep on going with that, but I'm going to stop and leave you with that. And lastly, remember to read your Bible, get lost in the story of God, and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.